Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and today we're taking a look at the points we earned for Game Week 3, any new players that we should be looking to add to our watch list and any key points to take home from the various teams that played across the weekend. So my team, for those of you without the visuals, I had Raya in net with 3 points. Pretty lucky 3 points considering they conceded a few goals there. We had Trent with 0, Cancelo with 0, Zinchenko banks a clean sheet, gets us 6 points, James with a solo point, and my new man Rico Henry with a solo point as well. We had Martinelli with 6 points in midfield, with captain Salah sitting beside him with 8 points doubled through to 16. We had De Bruyne with 5 points, Luis Diaz with 2 points, and our vice-captain Jesus up front with 4 points. On the bench, we benched Ward with a 1 point, Neto with 2 points, Archer and Plange both with 0 on the bench, scoring 44 points for the game week. Game week rank of 6.2 million, not ideal, with the average of 48 being 4 points below average for the game week. Sends us from 4k in the overall ranking, tumbling all the way down to 41k overall. To be honest, it's not that much of a fall, to be fair. The first 4 to 5 game weeks, like I said, will be very close. Every point will be thousands of ranks because there are 9.5 million players in the game at time of recording. The points spread is actually quite close. So give it till about game week 5 before you kind of get an idea of where you're actually sitting in the world. Now to go through the games, in the Tottenham vs Wolves fixture, Wolves absolutely dominated the first half against Tottenham. Tottenham had no answer to anything Wolves were doing. Wolves were just maintaining possession, playing the ball around the back, basically walking the ball up the pitch into the final third. They had no final third penetration, creativity, anything. They had all the ball and did nothing with it. Tottenham, though, also just had no response. They couldn't even get the ball off Wolves for that whole first half. So much so I think one of the possession stats at one point in the game was 83% in Wolves' favour, which is absolutely ridiculous. This frustrated Tottenham to no end, so much so that even when they did get the ball back, they started trying to force passes, they were trying to overplay and lost the ball back to Wolves all too easily. Dismal first half performance from Tottenham, to be fair. Conte obviously gave them a few tactics in the talk at half time, and they came out looking like a much better outfit in the second half. Kane was dropping off the defensive line into midfield like he does, but Wolves had seen that trick about 1,000 times before and sent Wolves players in after him, every time he did so, which shut down most of Tottenham's attack. The only player that was doing anything really on the Tottenham side was Perisic. He looks super dangerous. His delivery out on that left wing is outstanding. He seems to read the game very well. He can, as he's chasing down the ball, he can have a look over his shoulder to see where people are running, state of play, then put his head down, turn his back to goal to deal with the defenders that are coming after him, and send blind passes into the box and still hit his mark, which is just outstanding. It's great to see. Fixture ended up 1-0 Tottenham, probably a fair result. Wolves didn't look like they were going to score, really. I mean, they maintained possession, but they just had no go forward. And Tottenham, with the class of players that they had, managed to grab the victory. In terms of FPL, though, the only player worth noting was Perisic. Son looked woeful. He was not in the match at all. He even got pulled early, which is pretty unsun-like. But yeah, the only player worth mentioning of any noteworthiness was Perisic. And so that about sums up that whole match. The second game that we'll go into was Bournemouth vs Arsenal. This match I did not catch live, unfortunately. I was watching the Chelsea vs Leeds game. Jesus was the most captained player across the whole game this week, and we actually got very lucky here with us placing the captaincy on Salah instead of Jesus, because Jesus had a goal disallowed for offside, and one of Odegaard's goals, he actually shot off the toes of Jesus. He basically got there just before he did. Sent a great shot in past the diving keeper, who had absolutely no chance of saving that goal. And that's about all I could gather from the extended highlights. It's very hard to see what's going on without watching a full 90 minutes of football, and I haven't had time to watch that one before recording that video, unfortunately. In the Fulham vs Brentford match, I'll pull this one up for a couple of points. Obviously, Rico Henry was my new purchase for the week. He unfortunately lost his clean sheet within 45 seconds of being on the pitch. He did, however, give Tony an assisted goal at one point in the match, but that goal was disallowed for being offside by about the distance of a big toe. Super unlucky. We could have really used those points, but it is what it is. The only other takeaway from this match is Fulham playing at home at Craven Cottage definitely have a home advantage over their opponents due to the size of the pitch that they play on. It is tiny, so small. I think it's I've measured it out at 100 by 65 instead of 105 by 68, so a massive difference in square footage on the pitch, which Fulham used to their credit in the high pressing system. Any visiting team would be used to having just that little bit much more space on their touch when they're dribbling the ball, but at Craven Cottage they do not have the luxury of that space, and so their touch has to either be pristine or they have to be playing for the fact that they will not be able to bring the ball down in such tight quarters, because those tight quarters are made even that much more tight by the size of the pitch, and that's the way that Fulham plays when they're at home. Quite a different story when Fulham travel low. They play the exact same style of high press and fast high tempo, but on a much larger pitch that will wear their legs thin quicker and will not have the same devastating effect as it will at Craven Cottage. So definitely something to keep in mind when you have players going away to play at Fulham's home ground. In the Crystal Palace vs Aston Villa fixture, the only FPL points of note here are that Aston Villa are still super uneasy on set pieces. They concede yet again. Still a team to target. Aston Villa do not look like they have what it takes to stay in the Premier League so far. They could quite easily be in a relegation scrap this year if they do not sort out their defensive frailties. And Luca Dean, man, jeez, own goal last week. This week he gives away a penalty. Super unlucky. This rule is wrong for me. I don't know how any player is meant to perform a jump without bringing their arms above their shoulder height. Anyone who tries to jump, unless you're a fucking salmon and you're jumping with your shoulders and your arms literally super glued to your sides, that is such an unnatural jump. It's ridiculous. And they say that having your arms above your shoulders when jumping is an unnatural position. It's not unnatural, it is completely natural. So I do not know what's going on there. Definitely something that they need to revisit. Super unlucky for Luca Dean. However, that does not detriment to your FPL teams, apart from the fact that they concede the goal from the penalty, which Zaha slots home. Now we move along to the Leeds vs Chelsea fixture. Aronson, the player I mentioned last week, still looks like the player that he has been playing like throughout the season. He looks like a handful. He drew about 3 or 4 yellow cards off the Chelsea players in this match, some of them very early in the match, meaning the likes of Koulibaly had to have in the back of his mind that he was on a yellow for about 80 minutes of the whole match, so it definitely changes his ability to defend in certain situations. Leeds look like they could be a bit of a sleeper unit. They look like Bielsa's Leeds in that they are very attacking, very high press, super high work rate, rapid press when they lose the ball, but they have added something that Bielsa's Leeds did not have, and that is defensive shape when they do not get the ball back instantly. Jesse Marsh, you are working wonders on that training pitch, mate. Leeds won the ball back on the high press quite often, but when often enough that it was working well, but when they did press and Chelsea did manage to survive the press, Leeds then fell back into a very defensive looking shape and played and defended as a unit, which made it even more hard to break down. So in the past under Bielsa, they would typically just continue the high press and run their legs ragged and leave holes in their team, holes in behind them for their opposition to play in and around them. But that is not the case. Well, at least was not the case on this Chelsea match. And if Leeds continue to do this, they are going to be a much harder team to deal with going forward, and look like they may even be able to control games a lot more. Very attacking unit. Looks like great football to watch when you're watching it. It was definitely a team to keep on the radar moving forward. Leeds travel to Brighton this week, which is going to be a test for them. Brighton are a well-drilled side by Potter. Potter has got them positionally aware, working as a unit, and will be quite hard to break down. It will be very interesting to see what Leeds do there. I'll probably use that match as the final 90 minutes of watching them play before I jump on one of their players, because Leeds then go play, I think it's Nottingham Forest, West Ham, and who's the final? Rodrigo. So Brighton away, they play Everton at home, Brentford away, and Nottingham Forest at home, which is a great run of 3 fixtures. Everton are a team to target. Nottingham Forest are also a team to target. And Brentford away, Brentford look like quite a high pressing team as well. Very rapid football. There could be a lot of goals in that match. Looks like a great fixture for any of your attackers in the Leeds. For any of players that you're looking at from the Leeds squad. Chelsea have no attack. It was made painfully clear in that match that they just have nothing to aim at up front. Apart from Sterling getting an early shot in on goal in about the first 5 minutes of the match. It was very early in the game, which he should have actually sent Chelsea ahead 1-0, put the ball wide of his target. They really had nothing throughout the whole match. Havertz looked super lazy on the ball. It was dawdling all over the pitch. There was midway in the second half, I think, the ball got given to Havertz. James is making this epic run down the right-hand side. He's got no one chasing him. He'd be basically through and on goal. Havertz decides to take not 1, not 2, but 3 slow, lazy touches before he delivers the ball through to James, who is clearly offside before he receives the ball, because Havertz just took too long turning around and playing him in. No urgency, no speed, no work rate, no attack. Pitiful. The only player that looked decent on Chelsea's team the whole game was Cucurella. He looked awesome. He was getting forward down the left-hand wing, sending balls into the box, left, right and centre, but basically no one to hit, no one to aim for, which is unfortunate from any of you Cucurella owners out there. He did have a great chance to sink a goal. Ball came into him. He's inside the 18-yard box. Ball's coming in along the ground, very low. Cucurella's completely unmarked, straight in front of goal, sends a solid left foot side-footed shot well wide of the post. Doesn't even test the keeper, and that's about the best chance he had all game. Super unfortunate to see him not even hit the target, but very good signs for Cucurella moving forward. And apart from that, there was nothing for Chelsea really. Just a bad day out of the office, and something that they will need to go and analyse and work on moving forward. I do not know what they're going to do in attack. They definitely need to change things up. but I don't know where they go to. Sterling is not going to work very well as a false nine. They've already tried that, did not work well. Havertz is not the man for the job either. So I don't know where else they go. They're going to need to probably come in late on some sort of transfer deal and hopefully nab someone to chuck in up front. Otherwise, they are going to have a very difficult season through until the January transfer window. In the Newcastle vs Man City match, Alan Saint-Maximin, what a player. He was basically unplayable in this whole match. Walker could not deal with him all game. It got so bad that Walker actually looked like he feared the lad. Ball would get played out to Alan Saint-Maximin, he'd pick him up, and you could see the cringe on Walker's face as he's looking at him going, shit, he's run around me basically the whole game, and I don't know how to deal with him. All he needed to do was rush forward, close down the space, get within a metre of him, and force him to either make a pass or play backwards before he gets a chance to get up to speed in a dribble. But he does not do any of that. Walker instead decides to stand off him, start jogging backwards towards his own goal, allowing Alan Saint-Maximin to get up to speed and get his dribble on, something that he is known to be lethal at and had been doing all game, and creating absolute havoc for the Man City defence. If Pep had some more depth on the bench to pull Walker, I think he would have done so at half-time. However, Man City did not have anyone sitting on the bench, and so Walker just had to suck it up and just watch Alan Saint-Maximin blitz past him on multiple occasions throughout the game. This is how they managed to score 3 goals. There was just too much attack down that left-hand wing, and they couldn't even stop the ball from getting to him. Foden, mate, last week he had a chance to square the ball to Haaland sitting in front of an open net. There's no doubt in my mind Pep would have sat you down afterwards and go, alright, you should have passed that ball. I know you don't know exactly where he's meant to be, but he will be there. Just play that ball in the post-match debrief. Identical situation in this game. He, again, instead of squaring the ball to Haaland, who would have easily slotted the ball home again, decides to take the shot on and misses it. That may get him raked for the next game. You cannot make that mistake twice, and it ends up costing them 2 points in the long run. It's unfortunate from Foden. He had a pretty average game out on the left-hand wing. On the whole, he did not look great. I don't even know why he stayed on the pitch for so long. He was not looking very, very, very anything, really. I'd say it was just down to Grealish, I think, being at home with illness, even though he wasn't flagged in fantasy in the game. I think I heard the commentator saying something to that effect. I will have to check that out though. Haaland, though, also had his chances. He was given a great chance with a pullback to him sitting, where would he have been? Left side of goal, about penalty spot height, gets given the ball to his strong foot on the left hand side along the floor. An easy shot for him to hit, completely scuffs his shot, doesn't even get clean connection on the ball, no shot even comes off. I don't know what's going on there. It was early enough in the match too, he shouldn't have had tired legs at that point, but potentially his just awareness wasn't quite there and he wasn't quite switched on. He still should have sent that screaming towards the goal and in the bottom far post past the keeper, but was not to be. Man City did show their championship quality though, being 3-1 down and managing to pull the game back to a 3-3 draw. However, in the last, I think there was 5 minutes of added time at the end of the game and the final 2 minutes of actual normal time, Man City looked dead on their feet. They looked tired. De Bruyne was meandering around. He did not look like he had the legs to even chase down balls that were actually worthy of chasing down. It could have ended up in a potential attack to win the game, and they just didn't go for it. They just looked shattered. Must be the heat over there. You can see why the drinks breaks are that important. In fact, I don't actually remember them taking a drinks break in this match, so potentially that stopped now. I'm not too sure how long they were allowed to have those drinks breaks. Maybe it was the first weekend without that, and that That's them actually playing 45 minutes without a break, and just going to show how tiring it is. Apart from that, there wasn't a hell of a lot else to talk about in that match. Apart from Walker, they're going to have to do. I think if he comes up against another Alan St. Maximum type player with the same set of skills, he's going to have an absolute time on his hands doing anything about that if he continues to defend that way. He needs to go back into defensive training and get told how to step forward and actually stop his man from making ground and getting up to speed in order to run past his players. Anyway, the final game of the week, which I will cover, was Manchester United versus Liverpool. Now, I have completely underestimated Ten Hag. How he has managed to turn Manchester United around in that short amount of time is just phenomenal. There were reports that he pulled the whole United squad in after the Brentford loss earlier in the week, told the whole team that Brentford did 13 kilometres more running than them in the match, and so they were off for a 13-kilometre run on that day. Of course, all the superstars and whatnot, all the high-paid lads, did not like this one bit. Ten Hag, just showing the class of the man that he clearly is, just says, like, chin up, come on lads, I'm running with you. And if he's going to do the 13k run alongside all the players that are obviously not too happy about it, huffing and puffing and probably being quite stroppy, you can't do that. If the coach is going for that run too, that's what we need to turn the team around, stuff like that. He also benched Ronaldo and Maguire, which some people out there are saying the absolute balls of the lad to bench such big players, such expensive players, but these are the players that I've been calling to be benched since pre-season. Maguire is glaringly obvious that he is just not up to scratch of the Premier League and the style of play that we want to play. He's not fast enough. He doesn't have the game sense or awareness. Can't read the game. He can't even read football by the looks of things. And so seeing him benched and the change that it made on the pitch was huge. I think the players were playing with more confidence, knowing that they had a bit more stability in and around behind them. Bruno just ran his absolute socks off throughout the match. He was there to play the derby match and play it well. He was all over the pitch. Heaps of energy, putting the effort in. Great to see. Even better to see, though. Elanga gets pulled. We take Rashford out from up front and put him out on the left wing to replace Elanga. And instead of bringing on Ronaldo, he brings on Martial. Great. I love it. Martial did all the work pre-season, playing the style of play that Ten Hag wants to play, that high press. That is how we look good, and he did it again. Did the business. The team looked great. Thank Christ for that. Ooh, it was nervy match. I had all sorts of bets on at the TAB for Salah to go and score a hat-trick against us this weekend. I thought we were in for an absolute drubbing, and we pulled one out of the bag. However, Liverpool did not look like the Liverpool we know. So, yes, although we have stepped it up and beaten them 2-1, Liverpool did not look like the Liverpool, any sort of Liverpool we know. They had literally no midfield. They had no transition from defence into an attack. Salah was quiet for pretty much the whole game. Luis Diaz was getting the ball to feet and trying to make stuff work, but he just wasn't able to get past players and get any creativity going. And Van Dijk, again, looked super off. He was not shutting players down. He looked a little bit lazy in the things that he was doing. Even the goal that Sancho scored. Sancho gets given the ball, has the presence of mind to drag the ball back away from the sliding defender, but has all the time in the world to go and slot the ball home past Alisson. So much time that even Bruno's just standing there and he's pointing at the place to send the ball. However, Van Dijk is standing right in front of Sancho with his hands behind his back, as he should, so he doesn't get done for any sort of handball if the shot gets blasted anywhere near him. But he doesn't do anything to shut down the shot. He doesn't step forward. He doesn't rush in. He just jockeys from about 3 meters away, standing right in front of Alisson, so he's A, blocking Alisson's view, and B, giving Sancho acres of space of the net to hit on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. He had his pick of where he wanted to pass the ball home, and job done. And it didn't end there. Van Dijk gets into an argument with Milner, which lasted an age on the pitch, and it's just, something is going on at Liverpool, and I do not know what it is, but it is something to keep an eye on, because if they continue to do this, Trent does not look like he is worth the 7.5 million if Liverpool were going to continue to play like this. Obviously, we're not going to drop him yet, because it may just be a one-off, and Liverpool may just be getting up to speed in terms of it still being early season. But if this continues, it's definitely something we will need to keep an eye on as FPL managers, because the value is not in Trent if they're not keeping clean sheets. It's just, he doesn't make bonus. He may get an assist here and there, but he will come away with 4 points or 5 points. Without that clean sheet, he's not got any chance of hitting his 10, 11, 12 point hauls, and will not warrant that 7.5 price tag. So it's definitely something that we need to keep an eye on as FPL managers. And that is it for the game week roundup in terms of the important points that I pulled out of the matches that I was able to watch across the week. Jeez, I'm falling all over my words today. The only other thing that I will quickly touch on here is I have made an early transfer. I have sold James. The reason I have sold James is twofold. One, James is still not managing to get very far forward. Cucurella seems to be the main man in the Chelsea unit that is doing that, but also, even when both these lads do get forward, they have nothing to hit up front. James and Cucurella are going to do really well for assists and clean sheets if they've got someone to assist to. At the moment, there isn't anyone. Havertz does not look like he's going to be scoring. Sterling did not look at all involved in any sort of decent attack apart from very early on in the game, and I do not see where these assists are coming from. Therefore, I would much rather have Cucurella at a 5 million instead of James at 6. So I have sold James to downgrade him to Perisic, who I managed to catch before his price rise. I bought Perisic in at 5.4, as you can see on screen. He is currently now in the game today is 5.5, and so I have already banked in a 0.1 million price rise, which is exactly why I moved early. I've still got one free transfer in the bank, and I will discuss a lot more about what I plan on doing with that in the transfer video coming up later in this week, which if you want to be notified about, please hit that big red subscribe button and it will pop up when that gets released. It is free to subscribe, it does help me out, so please do click that button. If you did make it this far through the video, please do give it a like, it does also help me out quite a bit. And until next time, I'll catch you again sometime soon. Cheers.